Hello everybody and welcome to episode 51 of the HooperCast. I'm Hooper, and this is my cast. Hello, Dustin.
Hello, Hooper.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm eating lunch.
What do you got to eat there?
Got a quesadilla.
Oh, from where? From Moe's?
No, I made it, man.
What?
Yeah, dude.
I didn't know you cooked, Dustin.
I cook all the time.
Yeah, you do. You cook all the time.
But usually just easy foods like that.
And burgers.
Like burgers. Like it's just meat and bread, and then this. Sprinkle some cheese in a tortilla and throw it in a hot pan.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't cook. I can't cook worth a shit. I can cook scrambled eggs.
I love scrambled eggs.
I can cook. Oh dear. I don't cook that many things. Soup.
Yeah.
Soup. It can't. Yeah. I can't. Yeah.
I remember you always making meat, though.
Yeah.
In school. Like you buy a big bag of like Walmart pork chops.
Yeah, I'd buy some. Yeah, I'd buy the frozen chicken and throw them in there.
Yeah, man.
And get grease burns on the rig.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Just throw a little olive oil in there.
Good chicken though.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, this is boneless dark meat chicken.
Mmm.
It's delicious.
I'm more of a white meat kind of guy,
I
but
kind of want some right now.
But yeah.
Yeah, I like them both. I used to eat like way more dark meat than light meat. But, and then I was just like, oh, white meat's better for you. But even at Thanksgiving, I'd still eat the hell out of some dark meat.
Yeah.
And the skin and everything. So delicious. But then I'd take some of the skin and I'd wear it as a suit.
Like Hannibal Lecter.
Like Hannibal Lecter or Buffalo Bill.
Hello, Clarice.
I've been told to watch that new Hannibal series, and I found out it's on Amazon Prime the other day, so I might be able to.
It is.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. The showrunner, I can't remember his name. He said he had plans for like 7 or 8 seasons of that show. Like he'd already planned them out, and then eventually he'll get to the point where he'll start adapting Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal and all of that stuff too. So he's got a plan, which is cool. It's good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. What else have you been watching lately, Dustin?
I've been
we haven't
bouncing around
talked in
trying
a while because
I know
things have been busy. I'm really bad at asking you a question, but then saying, "Wait a second, hold on, let me talk some more." Yeah. So just to give the listeners some context, there are many reasons why the HooperCast goes a month without recording. Sometimes we just don't feel like it, and we can do that.
Sometimes we hate you.
Yeah.
We feel like you hate us.
Yeah, we have lots of content for you.
We do.
But what happened? My daughter came a month early, and then I had to bounce around at work and help Mrs. Hooper out. So just hadn't been a good time to record. So.
Was she a full month early?
She was, yeah. But then they were saying like, well, depending, you may have been farther along in your pregnancy when we found out we were pregnant, but she was still early.
Yeah.
But she's big. I mean, she was 6 pounds 14 ounces. I mean, pretty big for what you'd call premature birth. I wouldn't even call it premature. I'd call her just early or earlier.
Just
arrival.
early,
yeah.
See, I was premature. I was 5 weeks early, I think.
Oh.
And but it all worked out.
Yeah, I was late. I was like 10 days late. Yeah.
You made a nice little home.
I stayed in there.
You're like, I'm not ready to leave yet.
Yeah, I stayed in there and grabbed some extra. I was like, what can I take? Take some more calcium, a little more calcium. Just some, yeah. So
you spent 9 months on that bachelor pad. You couldn't just leave it.
I was like, you gotta give me some time to pack, man. I can't just kick me out. I gotta get some people together to help me move.
Yeah.
And those people were called doctors, and they pulled me out.
They are.
Yeah. After a while, they were just like, we gotta get him out of there. I don't think he's coming out. Yeah.
You'd still be in there today.
I would, and I'd be some kind of freak of nature. I'd be completely immune to I'd be immune to AIDS, and you could just do medical experiments on me. I wouldn't die. I'd be like immortal, man.
You'd have just stayed in there.
Yeah.
But then your younger brother would still have been conceived and born.
Yeah.
And you would just be in there like, nope, not leaving.
But yeah, she's out. Hoop Jew is out. happy and healthy,
Yay.
Oblivious to everything else. So yeah, she doesn't like. I was telling Mrs. Hooper. I said we've just been calling her Hoop Jew. I said she said it sounds kind of derogatory. I said it sounds kind of like something I would imagine. Like if you're from Boston and you just got done playing 21 with some Jewish guys, like it's almost like a rare sect of Judaism. It's like the athletes,
That's true.
Yeah, we were playing horse with some hoop Jews the other day.
That's so true.
When this queer came up, it's just
that was a terrible time to take a drink of beverage. Carbonation in my throat.
Yeah, but I was able to see a couple of movies. But I was curious what you have seen since we last spoke.
Well, I've been jumping around trying to find a TV show to latch onto. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of having these, television withdrawals, and I feel like I'm probably going to give American Horror Story a chance next. But I've jumped around from like Justified to Luthor. Following, and I just can't really, find anything that's, for whatever reason, gonna grab me, and yeah. So I've been watching a lot of those. And I've been knocking a couple movies off my instant queue, movies that I should have seen a long time ago, and just never have gotten around to, like There Will Be Blood, and
that's on Netflix.
It is.
Oh.
And The Grapes of Wrath, and yeah, so just kind of knocking some stuff off.
All right, I didn't know that was on there.
Yeah, it is. I think it's pretty new on there, but yeah, they have Good Burger on Netflix. I just found out. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet because I feel like it'd be too painful. But
I know Netflix is doing really well. They got like 2 million more subscribers or something. Like they're on the upswing. Yeah, and I don't know if their original content has anything to do with it, but I mean. I don't know.
Well, have you heard about this net neutrality thing?
I keep hearing it. I don't know what. Every like day, like Wired will post an article about it, but I don't know what it is.
Well, I don't understand like the whole thing, but basically, what I think is happening is that they've now decided that internet service providers, so like Comcast or Verizon or whatever, they can now funnel bandwidth to certain areas of the internet that they deem most worthy. So in other words, a top tier site like Google will load as fast as it always has, but like your blog page or your Facebook page or whatever, Facebook's pretty high, but little sites can now, best I understand it, they can now choose to limit how fast they will load for you based on how much you pay them.
So it's about money.
It is about money. It's always about money with Comcast. And so for me, like, the way that I see it, and I don't know if this is exactly how it works, the way I see it is it's sort of like television. How, like, you have your basic channels, but if you want HD channels, you have to pay more. And if you want AMC, you have to pay more. You have to like do another bundle. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I feel like it's kind of like that. Like if you want Netflix to load faster, then you're gonna have to pay them more money. And so anyway, but evidently it's a huge deal for Netflix, and they've like basically said we're gonna incite a riot because you will impede our ability to provide content for our customers if you say now Netflix is going to run slower than Google. You know what I mean? So, that's the deal.
Interesting. And that's coming whether we like it or not, I guess.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yay.
So right now, like, let's say you pay for, 18 megabytes, what is it, megabytes per second or whatever, when you buy an internet package from Uverse or whatever.
Right.
Well, now, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but AT&T now has the ability to say, it's 18 megabytes per second if you log on to Google. But if you go to Netflix, it's 16 megabytes per second. And if you go to Facebook, it's 14. And if you go to MySpace, which never gets any hits anymore, then it's 3 megabytes per second. And they can like chop it up and funnel the bandwidth where they deem it needs to be funneled and where it will be most profitable for them.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see how that works out.
Yeah.
Oh well.
That baby is super cute.
I know.
Just keep watching her hands move.
I know. Keeps just looking around, Look, it's over here. That's right in front of you here. Right there. Right at your periphery. If you would just look at it, all right, there we go. All right.
Yay.
Yeah. So, okay, see, now you're not drinking it. I'm confused, too. Look at that look. She was like, what?
I was just about to say, that's your face. Like,
Yeah.
that's the face that you make.
She has those quizzical looks like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
Yes. Those are the Hooper looks.
I know. Well, I saw, I got to I got a chance to see a couple of new releases. I was able to see Lone Survivor.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
That was pretty good.
Cool.
It was pretty good. Afterwards, I heard about a couple of interviews that Peter Berg, the director, was giving, and one of them he's talking to like this Israeli reporter, and so it's pretty much established that Peter Berg really loves America.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just talking about the military, and he was asking the reporter, like, so when did you enlist or whatever? He's like, I didn't. He was like, you're from Israel? He's like, yeah. He's like, you gotta join the military, motherfucker. And the guy's like, I mean, I kind of fled. He's like, he's pretty much like grilling him about, why didn't you join the military? Like, the guy's like, okay, we're not talking about that right now. But Peter Berg seems like a psychopath, but the movie was pretty cool. So, yeah. Yeah, it was good. It was solid. And then I saw The Wolf of Wall Street, which was really good. It would have made my favorite movie of 2013. I was really impressed with Jonah Hill.
I've really been impressed with Jonah Hill recently.
Yeah,
he's on a roll, I think.
He'll do like some weird dumb comedy, and then he'll walk out and just boom, he'll just be in a Martin Scorsese movie and then deliver an Oscar nominated performance.
Right.
Like he was my favorite part. I mean, God, him and Leo were both really good. Like that movie, just the writing was good, very good movie. So I would I'll probably rent it. I'll probably Redbox it when it comes out, and it's something I'd probably. It's just good. I mean, it's with Scorsese's movies are all solid except for Hugo. I didn't really like Hugo at all. Everyone just.
I like Hugo.
Everyone, I don't know. I feel like that one just missed it for me, but because it was different from his others.
It was. I think he was trying something.
Yeah. But
sort of out of his.
The Wolf of Wall Street will go in there with The Departed and Casino and every. But especially with Casino and Goodfellas, the guy's rise to fame in whatever his venture is, but most like Casino, I'd guess.
Okay. That's awesome though.
Guy, finds fortune. His wife eventually hates him.
Right.
And then the fallout of his the rise and fall. So yeah. So then I rented some stuff from the library, and I watched Carrie.
Oh yeah.
And I really liked it. Like the first 2/3 of that movie were really good. And the end is good too, but the end is a lot more generic than the rest of the movie because it's it's the remake of the I guess 1976 or something like that. I think it was Brian De Palma did Carrie, and it's based on the Stephen King book about this girl who gets her period and then develops telekinetic powers. But she's kind of like an outcast because her mom's like a crazy fundamentalist Christian, and so she's, so people pick on her. But then like she's able to go to the prom, but then some mean people like pour pig's blood on her, and so she freaks out and starts killing people. So the first 2/3 of the movie They're really good. I like Chloe Moretz. She was really good.
I do too. Yeah.
It's basically, the first act is like, it works for these days because it's about bullying. It's about picking on people, and these bitches are mean to her. They are mean, and like most of them, like after the initial thing, like she gets her period, and so they all throw tampons at her, and she's like freaking out and crying because she doesn't know what it is because her mom didn't tell her what a period was. So they're throwing tampons at her, and someone tapes it and puts it on YouTube, then they all get punished, and that chick is like, whatever, like she deserved it. And so all her friends are like, I don't know, we feel kind of bad. So she breaks off, and she's like, toward the end of the movie, like when everything's freaking out, they're driving and Carrie's in front of the car, and she's like, run her over, kill her, just kill her. And it's like, you're willing to go 100% with this, aren't you?
Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah,
you hate her so much that you're just ready to kill her. Like she's like, it's still believable, but it's like, wow, like I guess we're going all the way with this. There's no going back.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah.
But she is just she just wants to ruin Carrie's life. She hates her.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's really good, and I don't know if this happens in the original movie or not, but one of the girls who feels bad about it asks her boyfriend to ask Carrie to the prom. And they're actually nice people, I guess, who just have the wrong kind of friends, and so the guy takes her out, and so it's really the whole second half is like, oh, and she made her dress herself, and she stood up to her mom, and so she's going to be able to go to the prom, and and she's having such a great time at the prom, and then when they pour the blood on her, it's just like,
yeah.
And there's some graphic deaths in there, man. People get
I heard it was pretty good.
It's worth watching. I haven't seen the original, so I don't know how to compare it, but
is that at Redbox?
I got it at the library. I'm pretty sure you can get it at Redbox. I would think you could.
Yeah.
And then the other one I saw was Elysium, the Neil Blomkamp's sophomore film.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it as much as District 9.
Yeah.
But District 9 was really great. So
yeah.
I mean, it's almost an unfair comparison, but it has the same like kind of aesthetic. Like it's where District 9 was supposed to be like today. Elysium's in the future. Elysium's like 2154.
Okay.
Which this is a little bit of a tangent, but I've started a Word document where I've put the movies I own. I put them first. I categorized them. The movie, when it came out, as if I'm going to watch them all in that order, I guess. And I put them in the order in which they occur. So I have them in chronological order. So of course, when I see the years, I'm like, okay, 2154. It's 100 years after Minority Report takes place, and so I'm trying to make it all fit in the one universe, and it's just fun for me.
Right.
So, but much like District 9, the people live in basically like a landfill. There's just trash everywhere. Yeah. Everything's shitty. It just looks bad. I was afraid going into it that, because I could tell, and you could tell from like the posters and everything, it's like, in 2154, the gap between the rich and the poor has increased, and the rich got richer and the poor got... But now it's just like,
Yeah.
So, I was, I didn't want to see a soapbox about, income inequality, because I've made my decision on how I feel about that, and, I don't want to see a movie where people are trying to say, everyone should make the same amount of money, or rich people should pay more. I just didn't want to see that. Then there's a little bit of it in there. They kind of just let go of that toward the middle and the end. Good. So, it's not like someone turns around at the end and goes, poor people deserve better. And then it ends.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't, that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as preachy as I thought, but I know that's why Matt Damon, that's one of the reasons he signed on.
He did it, yeah.
Exactly. So, and it's just, we've talked about this before, I can't separate him from his off-screen person. When you can tell black and white why someone was probably involved in a project, but that's up to them, so whatever. But
that's exactly the thing. Like, I was thinking the other day about movie stars and why there doesn't seem to be a true, like, movie icon anymore.
Yeah.
Like, when you think back, like, you think of, like, James Dean and Marlon Brando and Marilyn Monroe
Steve
and Humphrey
McQueen.
Bogart and, Yeah, and it's all just like, these
John
are
Wayne.
icons, right?
Yeah.
And why there's not that anymore. And I think it's because of just how prevalent it is that we know everyone's likes and dislikes and political views and religious
We
views.
know too much about them.
We know too much, and so that becomes hard to separate from people. So when you go to a Tom Cruise movie, it's kind of like in the back of your mind somewhere, at some point you're gonna Scientology is gonna come into your mind. For the most part. I mean, not all the time. Tom Cruise is pretty good, but the thing is, like, we know too much about people, and so yeah, I think that is why we don't have movie stars, is because it's become harder to separate them from their
personal lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas what do you know about like James Dean?
Nothing, man.
Not much. Yeah, exactly. No. Of course, granted, he only made 3 movies. So
True.
He wasn't really in the spotlight for that long.
Right. What's a constant rule of science fiction that I accept is that it is the perfect medium, and it should serve this purpose of. Mm-hmm. Speculative fiction is my favorite genre. So
sure.
I like movies like this where, it's like, hey, let's take a problem we have today, and let's extrapolate it and see. Yeah. Let's build a world where this kind of was the biggest issue and continue to be the biggest problem with us for 100 years. And in their minds, rich people are pricks, and so it's like, what if they just got up and left? I thought I would get up and leave too if I was stuck on a planet with a bunch of poor complaining people like you. Elysium seemed pretty sweet too. It's just this big spinning.
Yeah, just from the trailers, it looked pretty cool.
It's basically like an endless Central Park.
Yeah.
It's like on a giant wheel. Mm-hmm. But I'd want to live there.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Well, talking about stuff like that, like I came up with this a few days ago, and I was talking about it with some people. And there's a movie out now, or maybe it's just about to come out. I don't know. It's called Gimme Shelter.
Yeah.
And it stars Vanessa Hudgens and Brendan Fraser. Sorry, I can't say his name without laughing. I'm so sorry. And I love Brendan Fraser, but he's hilarious. And who else is in it? Rosario Dawson. And anyway, so the movie has a pro-life message. Mm-hmm. And I saw an interview with the director, and he was talking about how difficult it is in Hollywood to get a conservative movie made.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is the problem. Because it's like you're saying, like, you've already made your mind up about how you feel, right?
Yeah.
And Hollywood, and it sucks because you kind of know that if it's a big movie, it's probably going to lean one way.
Yeah.
It's not going to present both ways. It's not going to present, reality. It's just going to present one side of the issue, and that is the liberal side. And so, not to get into politics or anything, but
yeah.
But I feel like that's the problem with the American film, system.
Yeah.
Is that they present one side of the issue and there's nothing on the other side, and how hard it is to get a movie made.
In one way,
do you feel that way?
In one way, it's maybe this is too hyperbolic, but it's kind of irresponsible filmmaking when you can't show at least Because their whole thing is like, well, why would rich people keep all their money to themselves? Oh, because they're evil, and it's just like And let me see, There Will Be Blood was about capitalism. We talked about it earlier. It was about greed, capitalism, and what people don't understand and they don't take the time to learn is like, at least I know that the left thinks they're helping people. The left thinks that people can't make good decisions by themselves, and they mean well. That's fine. But there's a difference between meaning well and then mandating that people make choices that you declare to be good. Everyone's obsessed with secondhand smoke because they don't like people smoking. Never mind that e-cigarettes are a much safer alternative and don't produce secondhand smoke. They're harmful. That's not good enough for them. It's like, no, we just don't like people smoking. Where, yes, agreed, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for anybody. It does not improve anyone's health, period. Yeah. But it's still people's choice. So if it's my choice to be rich, and I like to keep all my money, I'm entitled to that. It's my money. Now, what you can indict is being an asshole. if Daniel Plainview makes millions of dollars on oil and doesn't give it to anybody, that's his prerogative. Is he an asshole? It depends on how he goes about it. In the movie, yes, he's an asshole. But I've abandoned my child.
I've abandoned my
boy. Give me the blood, Eli. Give me the blood. But either movies don't have brains. There's just like action, and then that's better. That's less inflammatory to me than irresponsible things like because Elysium. It's not like, hey, the rich people all live on Elysium. It's like, oh, you know what? Also, they have in this future. Thanks. In this future, they have machines. It's kind of like that machine in Prometheus that it scans, it finds out what ailment you have, and it heals you instantly.
Yeah.
And so their whole thing is the rich people have these machines that heal any disease like right away. Like someone has leukemia and they just step in there, boom, leukemia's gone. Yeah. And so it's like, well, obviously, if they had these machines, I'm sure they'd give you guys at least one of them. Like, I don't think they'd take all the healing machines and say, well, see you guys, you can all just die down on Earth. Because that's irresponsible to me. If there was some kind of thing like, well, it just costs too much to bring, but they paint the rich people like they all just took all the awesome shit that would make them survive as a species and they left us down here to die. And it's like, okay, I get it. You think they're evil, but it's just, I don't know if I'm mad at them or I'm mad at the American public for looking at that and going like, oh, all rich people must be like that. But that's what happens. Yeah. People get indoctrinated because they take movies as gospel. And they don't, I don't know. They don't get the time to...
It's true.
I don't know.
And I agree with you. Like, I get blockbuster fatigue really quickly, but on the other hand, I almost enjoy watching blockbusters more because I know Man of Steel isn't going to try to shove anything...
Any propaganda,
Yeah, it's not like... And I know that that's probably the wrong way to look at it because art should be self-expression.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it never feels that way. Like, very rarely does it feel like somebody had something to say with this. It just feels like somebody wanted to push their agenda. You know what I mean? And there's a difference.
That's why documentaries, like almost every documentary is good. Because it's not inherent in narrative storytelling to tell a balanced story from both sides. Right. It makes it better if you do. But documentaries are not good unless they present both sides.
Right, exactly.
Like, so that's what they taught us. Like, you need to approach people who think this way. Even a good story on the news, they say you need to get reaction from both sides of the issue to present a balanced, take on it. Otherwise, it is kind of irresponsible. And so if that's irresponsible in the news, and major networks do that, but still, I would indict them too. Like, it's irresponsible. And maybe narrative filmmaking, they consider that like, hey, it's fair game, and it is.
Sure.
But that's why people prefer, like, I don't know. I just think the best kind of art would at least let you decide, because that's what I believe. I believe in letting people decide. I don't believe in, one institution deciding what's good for people.
See, it's a really fine line because, let's assume I was writing a movie.
Yeah.
The movie's going to lean towards what I believe.
Yes.
It just is.
Yeah.
And so I understand that. And so, but at the same time, is that irresponsible of me to just present what I think, or is that self-expression? The problem that I feel is that when I watch a movie like Elysium or whatever, because, whatever, and I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming here, that movie, the screenwriter, did Neil Blomkamp write that?
I believe he did.
Okay. Well, let's assume, that he wrote this movie and it is the way it is because it's what he believes. That's what he's choosing to express himself. Well, to me, the problem is that there's so many hands in that. Like, the screenwriter gets shut out because the studio says, well, it needs to do this, and the actors say it needs to do this, and you get someone like Matt Damon who wants at least a little bit of control over, the whole thing, or Edward Norton, who we know likes to have control over the story. You get so many hands in there that it doesn't feel like self-expression anymore. So at the base level, the screenwriter should be able to write whatever they want. But to me, sometimes it comes across as being irresponsible because it only presents, or like it hits you over the head with something. I can't really.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like it
ceases
gets
being a
fatiguing.
Story, and it becomes a message. And there's nothing wrong with a message, but people don't need to. What you're trying to. If you want to tell me a message, just give me a speech.
Right.
But if you want to tell me a story, then tell me a story.
Right.
And that's my problem.
Yeah, no, it's very true, and it's like Captain Phillips or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's based on a true story, so they have sort of a framework to start with. But as they're writing the film, it's going to become whatever that screenwriter intends it to become.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say anymore.
It's like nobody wants to admit that they're making a movie just to tell a story. Like they're all like, "Well, I want to make a movie about this thing that I believe in." It's like no one's going to punish you for not having a profound answer. You can just say, "I just thought this story would be cool, so yeah," and then they picked me. No one wants to admit that they wanted to make a Captain Phillips movie, and I'm just the director that that they settled on. Like, there has to be some kind of grand reason that you're doing this. Like it's your magnum opus. Exactly.
And if you look at Captain Phillips, like it basically is just the story of what happened.
Yeah.
Like there's really not like deep, philosophical, life-changing things happening here. But it's I don't know.
I hardly ever
I feel like I shouldn't have started this because I don't know how I really feel about it. But I'm in the middle because the artist in me says that the artist should be able to express himself.
Well,
but then the other part of me, as the consumer, says I'm tired of seeing the same expression over and over and over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess then I would remedy it and say, I believe, artists should be able to tell whatever kind of story however they want to, because that's their right. But, I wish people would, I guess it's just more like, I'm not going to tell them what they should do, but it would behoove them, and it would help their storytelling and the overall efficacy of their movies if they were to present it a little more responsibly and two-sided.
True.
Because then it begs questions. Like I don't know. It's like the I can't really think of really many movies I like that I like because of the message. I like Castaway because it's a cool story and it's shot well. I like it. I like watching it.
Yeah.
So what do you mean? What do you think about what it says about how obsessed we are with time? It's like I don't care.
Yeah.
He's stuck on an island, and it's Tom Cruise. Tom Hanks on screen by
that
himself.
Would be a completely different movie.
Yeah. He'd be like wind sprinting up the beach every day.
He would be, yes.
He'd just be running a lot.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get that much more complicated for me. I like those kind of movies, and when I'm trying to think of something else to counter. Like I don't know. I like United 93 because of the message. Because the message is like, oh, that's not even a message. That's a story too. It's like, hey, look at these people who, this could have been another plane that hit another target, and these people were like, hey, we know we're going to die, but we may as well die taking down these guys.
Right.
And that's I love that movie. I don't watch it every day, but it's...
And that's a good point too, because in I'm sitting here thinking about my favorite movies, and the ones that I like the story, and maybe there's a deeper meaning or a deeper truth behind it, like Back to the Future. I don't know if the deeper message is like you can affect change in your life, like you can choose to a better future for yourself, whatever it is, like that's a cool message, but that's not why I watch it.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? And so maybe that makes me a superficial viewer because I'm just watching that base level. But at the same time, like, stories throughout time, throughout history, stories have been, stories.
I mean, Breaking Bad, one of the reasons it's really good, aside from how it's filmed, and the story itself is riveting, but like, as I told you about the book that Mrs. Hooper gave me about, and about the philosophical end of it, we've already, we've talked about before, it does have a deeper meaning, but it's not one-sided. It's not like, hey, It's basically like this person was put in this situation, and here's what they did with it. At what point? At what point do you draw the line? What would you have done? Like, there's a lot of questions, and the only really judgment of Walt that we have is, are his justifications for his actions, and it's more of, look at this interesting. Like, even as the viewer, like, you don't really judge him.
Yeah, this is true. And I think Breaking Bad's probably a good example because it's a great story, and you can go a level deeper. But what it does is it presents truth and it presents honesty, and something that everybody can relate to, no matter their own political or religious or whatever presuppositions that they come to the show with. So for instance, when I watch the show, I see it as like a warning. It's very biblical to me. It's the story of King David who is caught up in sin and it destroys him, or what I mean. It's all of these people. Like, that is, to me, it's a very biblical story. But if you were not religious, you can still be very close to that show because it still presents truth. And I guess that's what I like is something that presents honesty and says, no matter who you are and no matter who we are, you can relate to this story just the same as everybody else in the world. Does that make sense? Whether you're rich or you're poor, everybody can get caught up in that story.
Yeah. I guess I just wish that, like, there's nothing wrong with people thinking. I mean, obviously in Elysium, yes, those rich people are bad people. They build a world in the sky. They don't let people in a certain tax bracket, I guess, come with them to it. They have these machines that heal all diseases. They take all of them up there with them, and everyone who knows how to make one, I guess. They take all the landscapers, and all the people that make things look nice, and then they leave all the factory workers and people without jobs and people without health insurance down on Earth and let them just ruin it. And when people attempt to come to Earth, or when people attempt to fly from Earth to Elysium to heal their dying children, the people in Elysium, Jodie Foster has them shot down out of the sky. And if they show up there, they're killed. Okay, yes, those people are bad. But they're not bad because they're rich. They're bad because they're murderers.
Evil.
And they're assholes.
Yes. Exactly.
They happen to be rich. So,
this is true.
Yes, those people are... That's why I could overall... was okay with Elysium, because it was fun to watch and whatever, but it was forgettable. And when you run with that idea, you label and you start to think, rich people, and it's like you harken back to, like the ones in Elysium, they would probably try to keep every advantage in life away from me if they could, even if they had to kill me. And it's like, well, that's what these kind of things do to people.
That's right.
And it's stupid. But anyway, that was Elysium.
Okay.
So,
that opened a whole can of worms I didn't expect it to.
Yeah.
We can touch on this for a minute. But did you watch Sherlock Series 3?
I did. I got through all 3 episodes of Sherlock.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What did you? What were your initial sort of impressions?
I'm trying to remember if Series 2 was that different from Series 1. It felt like this one was pretty different, but it could have just been the hiatus. But I liked it, but I don't know if I liked it as much as I liked Series 2.
Sure. That's where I'm at too. It felt really different. Not necessarily in a bad way. It just was different.
And maybe that's good.
Sure. I feel like this was the character development season.
Yeah.
It was all about character, because how many murder mysteries were there in those 3 episodes? 1.
Yeah.
So to me, it wasn't really even like a mystery show this season. It was more like, here's Sherlock being thrust into situations that he doesn't like and how he deals with them.
Yeah.
And so it's very character development-y that way. And then there's also sort of like the absence of a big, overarching Moriarty kind of figure that maybe makes it feel a little different. But But yeah, I thought it was good, and you know, it may be the weakest season.
Yeah.
Overall.
But it's not that it's the weakest one and accomplishes nothing, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like if we spent this year, these 3 episodes looking at, you know, character development, then next year, if it's just simply mystery after mystery after mystery, then it won't feel terrible because we got all the character development from the previous season.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was a lot going on with Sherlock this time around.
And him and John too.
Oh, yeah, and John. And I mean, imagine like all that stuff with like Sherlock and, you know, when he was spoiler alert, guys.
Mm-hmm.
When he was shot, and
I loved that.
Yeah, I did too. And you get to see like him as a child and like all of these things, and and we got to see Sherlock's parents, and we got to see, you know, it was just it was kind of cool. I thought. I mean, it was different, but it was cool. And, I think the big bad guy at the end of the 3rd episode, while he wasn't exactly Moriarty, I thought he was pretty cool. Like, kind of like an anti Sherlock, because he even had like the vision. He had the mind palace, and he had the like all of, like where he would see text around people and stuff. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I was so confused about like his glasses. Were they?
Yeah.
Like, I guess they're in his mind, but like, was that just his way of seeing?
Yeah, it was.
That was his way of assessing.
Yeah, like Sherlock,
I thought he was like an android or something. It was like those scouters that the Saiyans wear in Dragon Ball Z.
It was. Yeah. I thought it was in his glasses, and it was like somebody feeding him information. Like I figured it was Moriarty or something. But
that's interesting. Yeah.
But when Sherlock took the guy's glasses off, there was nothing in them. Mm-hmm. So maybe not. But
yeah, I took that completely literally. I was like, does he have like a cyborg eye? Like, what's going on with this guy? Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought that was cool, and that was Lars Mikkelsen. It was Mads Mikkelsen's brother.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I thought that voice sounded familiar, that accent at least. I was like, God, who does he remind me of?
Yeah, he was a villain in the Conan Doyle stories too, although his name was a little different. I think in this it was, I don't remember. They changed his last name to match the nationality of Lars Mikkelsen, and so that was the thing. Charles Augustus Magnuson was it. That's what it was in this, I think. And in the story, in the Conan Doyle stories, it was Charles Augustus something British. I don't know. But yeah,
Coffee
it was cool. Coffee. Yeah, but it was it was all very good, and I enjoyed it. I mean, the one part that worried me was when you see Sherlock with that girl in the 3rd episode. I can't remember her name now, but Mary's maid of honor or whatever, and you see them together, and I thought like, okay, if this is for real, they've ruined, like they've lost the character.
Yeah.
But of course it wasn't.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, but he wouldn't tolerate, he wouldn't. No.
Exactly.
But that turned out okay for me. I was all right with that.
Yeah, me too.
I guess now we gotta wait for. It's more like. I guess I got my fill. I had a lot more fun episode to episode in Series 2. Yeah, I guess it was because of all the Moriarty stuff and then how that wasn't here now. But I guess that's just what happens when it gets to bigger stuff. There's less dealing with, Lestrade and,
What did you think about the twist with Mary?
I guess I still didn't quite understand that. I mean, as I understood it, she's just, I guess there'll be more to be revealed about that next series, but I guess she was, I don't know, was she assigned to John, or did it just end up, I didn't really understand how she even, was she, I don't know.
I don't think we know the specifics, but she was, at least at some point, a secret agent of some sort.
Yeah.
And, I don't even know.
Maybe she's a wet worker, an assassin.
Yeah. It's weird because, obviously that was not a part of the Conan Doyle stuff.
Right.
So the purist in me says, like, okay, that was a misstep. But at the same time, like, I mean, it was interesting, I guess, and it gave a little complication for John to have to deal with, and I thought he dealt with it in a very true to character way.
Yeah.
By just saying, okay, you are who you are, and I don't care who you were. And I felt like that was kind of a sweet moment and true to his character. And I don't know. Did you know that the people that played Sherlock's parents are actually Benedict Cumberbatch's parents?
Did you know that the woman who plays Mary is Martin Freeman's wife?
I did, yeah.
That's really weird that they were like, oh, do you think? I wonder if it was just lazy on their parts or that just worked out that way.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's to them in the office, like, here's a check.
Yeah. I didn't know that those are his real parents, though.
They are.
I would have expected his dad to have an equally scary, deep voice.
If you look at his mother, though, like he looks like his mom. Like, look up a picture of her. It's like, oh, yep, I can see it now.
Wait, come back.
No, I
Say hello to Dustin, at least.
Is he on the actual screen?
Yeah, he's on the screen.
I'm so used to you guys not being on screen.
Hey. How's it going?
I'm not short enough, no! Okay, I don't really hear him. So,
Alright,
bye,
bye.
Dustin, bye.
Love you.
Dustin.
Hey, bye.
Love you too. My poor car is like the only car that has eyes underneath it, so.
Really? Oh, underneath it, yeah. Alright, drive safe.
Oh, can you make sure the quotes up off the floor?
Yeah, I'll get up off the floor. I think she's falling asleep, so yeah, I was pleased with it overall, I guess. I don't know if I had my hopes high or what, but I wasn't disappointed.
Yeah, me neither. I feel like I didn't quite get, like you put it, I didn't quite get my fill, but I don't know if that was just because I just want more than 3 episodes or what it is.
Yeah.
But they did cross another thing off my list of, like, things that they have to do for it to be Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
And which I thought was good. They did, 2 things. They did John and Mary, and they did Sherlock's substance abuse.
Yeah.
And
they did do that.
I was surprised. I figured they wouldn't do that.
Just because it would make him look bad.
Yeah, and it's such a different thing now than it was in the Victorian days. But yeah, no, it's I guess there's still one thing though that they still need to make Sherlock do. He needs a pipe. I don't think we've ever seen him smoke a pipe.
I guess that's what the cigarettes are supposed to be.
Yeah, I know, but screw it. I want a pipe.
I'd like to see him. He needs. I guess I'm not going to go this direction with him, but it's something they did maybe a little too much in the Guy Ritchie films. But he needs to at least be a competent hand-to-hand fighter.
Well, but Sherlock never was that, except for in the Guy Ritchie movies.
He was in the books, though. I don't know if he was like he wasn't really a thug, but he knew how to handle himself. But I guess they're not. I guess to them, maybe they're just like, we can just write some much more clever stuff than him having to fight somebody.
Sure.
I would just think at some point, like, wouldn't it make sense that someone physically confronts him? Like, I don't know. It just seems like conveniently, they make their way into a situation, and whoever's the threat, is okay with talking their way out. I don't know. It just seems like.
Well, I guess my thing is, like, the original stories. I can't think of a point where he fought anybody, but I could be blanking on it. I haven't read everything that
I'd have to double check too.
But it probably did happen. But it was always sort of like a last resort, or like a like that's just a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And it's always sort of more about him deducing and throwing people off just by deducing so much about them, and just being smarter than everybody to the degree that nobody even wants to cross him because they know he'll best them in everything. And so, in that, like, I love the Guy Ritchie. Well, I love the first film, and I love the last 15 or 20 minutes of the second film.
Yeah,
and but if you notice, the last 15 or 20 minutes of the second film is not any fighting; it's just talking.
right.
But the first one I love, and it's I think having him be a brawler was a very smart move to modernize him and to give him a more interesting ability. Since you're setting him back in time, like when he was supposed to be, just to sort of make it have more mainstream appeal, I guess.
Yeah.
I felt like that was an okay move, and I didn't mind it. But yeah, I don't know how I'd feel about it in Sherlock. I think it might throw me a little bit. Maybe because I don't feel like Benedict Cumberbatch could handle himself as well as Robert Downey Jr. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I suppose at some point I'd be amazed if he got through every situation he gets into without having to at least punch somebody.
Sure.
But
especially nowadays, yeah.
I definitely wouldn't want it to be at the forefront, though, because then it is a little bit too much. But I would have expected at some point, at least show me what he would do.
Yeah.
I would think that he would just know a couple of key things,
Sure.
I don't know. John fights more than him. I was just all right, well, that's interesting. John broke that guy's arm, or he sprained it.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't break it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like their take on Watson being addicted to adventure, being addicted to that lifestyle.
Well,
I feel like that was kind of a
opposite of Bilbo, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, until his arc, I suppose. But that's interesting.
Yeah. During this, I never really thought of Bilbo, which I think is me neither. Testament to him. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little
worried. I was a little worried I'd see Khan too, and I never did. And yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen Benedict Cumberbatch in anything else, so I mean, I've still got the Sherlock glasses on. Yeah, I haven't.
Sure.
I don't think I've watched one thing. Actually, Mrs. Hooper was watching Parade's End, so I saw a little bit of him in that.
Okay.
But
yeah,
that was just a sadder, average intelligence Sherlock. But it was I don't know.
He plays an American in August Osage County.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
He's in a lot of stuff, but I haven't seen him in much. I think he was in War Horse too, but I don't.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't Loki in that also?
Yeah, he was.
Was Tom Hiddleston? Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He was in that.
No.
Yeah. That movie wasn't as bad as people were saying. Everyone was like, War Horse sucks. I was like, oh, it was pretty good.
I liked it. I thought it was good. Yeah. I mean, it's a little long.
It was a little sentimental too, but
yeah.
It was effective.
Yeah, it was very much like old school to me. It was it was like John Ford, like
Black Beauty
shots and yeah, that too. But it was I liked it. I don't know, whatever. I'm also a Spielberg nut, so
yeah,
that could also be part of it. But I was going to ask you about the snow. Tell me about what happened in Alabama.
Well, from my perspective in the news, I'd heard vaguely, that'd be some cold, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really know much, but I just know that we ran cut-ins every half hour at the news, and then we went on at 4, and then we went on at 5, and then we stayed on until 6:45. Then we did cut-ins on the half hour, and then they stayed on the air through 6 and then through 7, and then I directed a big long cut-in without commercial breaks on the CW at 8, and then we did the 9 o'clock show until 11:15.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, well now I'm going home, blah, blah, blah. I go outside, and all of our cars are frozen shut because of the sleet. It was sleeting all day. So, that was slowly accumulating throughout the day.
Sure.
But then iced everyone's car shut. And so it took me 30 minutes to open my car and then start it. And then I finally got it cranked, but then my wipers wouldn't work, but at least I got everything clear, and it wasn't sleeting anymore, so I wouldn't need them. And then I was like, oh, my phone has 2% battery left, and I've never driven in ice before. So I was like, well, I'm going back inside, and so I charged my phone some more. And I was driving home really slow, and I skidded like every 3 or 5 seconds driving straight and going up hills and stuff. So I made it home. But I admittedly, like, when I got home, I was like, I'm lucky to have made it. Like, So, and then the next day, did kind of the same thing, and a little bit this morning too. And then today, I busted my ass putting the leaf blower back in the shed.
Really?
So it was on concrete, and so it was iced over, and I slipped and fell on like my keys and all my stuff, and I didn't feel it because I was so layered up. But I got up and there was like a big crack where my body fell. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I know that in Atlanta, like everyone, a lot of what happened in Atlanta seemed to be that it just nobody, usually up north, they close things before this happens.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone here knew like it would ice up because the models. I think the models were telling the meteorologists one thing, and then another thing actually happened.
Well, we knew it was going to snow.
Yeah.
I don't know that we had a clear indication of how much and how fast and how much of it would stick. But basically, you're right. Up north, everybody kind of knows beforehand, okay, let's shut everything down. And here, we usually do that also, but the problem was, I guess, they took a gamble and said, let's let everybody go to school and let everybody go to work, and then when it actually started snowing and it became apparent, like, okay, this is going to be a problem, then everybody, it was like everybody left at the exact same time. So you have everybody leaving the government offices, everybody leaving from just general retail stores that were being closed, and then obviously school buses, everything leaving and going on the same road at the exact same time. And Atlanta's congested enough, much less when everybody's trying to do the exact same thing and it's snowing. And so it just became a nightmare really quick. And I have family and friends who were in the snow, or were in the on the roads for hours, for what typically is like a 15 or 20 minute commute. For hours they were on the road, because I think here, just in my county alone, there were like 200 car accidents, and then in like Cherokee County there were over 300, and it was just sort of a nightmare, like all at once. And so it wasn't so much the snow that kind of made the congestion. It was just the fact that everybody was trying to leave at the exact same time, and then all the car wrecks. But yeah, I don't know. It was ridiculous. There's still snow on the ground outside. Like it's stuck this long. The roads are pretty much clear. They're a little wet, but they're pretty much clear.
Yeah.
And, but there is snow on the ground still.
Yeah, I've still got some ice out here. On some of the roofs and under some of the bridges there's still ice because they're not getting any sunlight. I don't know how long it'll be till my windshield wipers work. So I just hope we don't need them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was like halfway through moving last night when they fogged up again, and I was just like, oh God, I can't see at all. So I was just like, I just sort of stopped, and it was kind of scary, man. I don't wish to go through it again. And I posted, some article I saw about why it happened and why everyone's talking shit about the South because they weren't prepared for snow. And it's like, well, no. But I wanted to shoot back, like, who wasn't prepared for a fucking hurricane? Yeah, that's what I thought. Shut up. I'm not going to give you shit because hurricanes don't happen to you guys, like, or tornadoes or anything else. Like, we don't get ice storms. We don't get snow, you know, and no,
Yeah.
nobody down here is used to driving on ice because they live down here where ice is in your fridge or your cooler
Yeah.
for beer.
Right.
That's right.
And that's it.
Yeah, and that's it.
Hey, Hooper,
Yo,
some news just broke that I want to talk about really quick.
uh-oh, what happened?
And I want to get your initial reaction to this as well.
All right.
They've just announced 2 actors for Batman Superman. The first casting decision I can get behind. They've cast Alfred,
Uh-oh.
and it is Jeremy Irons.
Ooh.
Now that I can deal with. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I hope they give him a little bit of like sarcastic wit.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think that'll work. I
Yeah.
can get behind that. But the next, I can't even say this without laughing because it sounds like a joke. The next piece of information is Lex Luthor.
Oh, dear.
Now let me tell you some of the names that have been associated with this role before. Bryan Cranston,
Mm-hmm.
Mark Strong, Terry O'Quinn, Joaquin Phoenix. They've all been mentioned for Lex Luthor.
Joaquin
they've
Phoenix
gone
is the
with-
most interesting one of those choices because he's
He
the only
really
one
is.
who's not already bald.
Yeah, and because I feel like he could play like a completely calm, centered, anger under the surface kind of guy.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, so can the other 2 guys, but they're already bald and they're kind of older and whatever.
Yeah.
And they've already done it a few times. But okay, this sounds like a joke, Connor. Hooper, I don't even know if I can say this without it sounding like a joke. They have cast in the role of Lex Luthor, Superman's greatest foe, Jesse Eisenberg. I'm not even joking.
That's
I wish
a
I was-
terrible decision.
I wish I was joking. I'm not joking.
An Olympic caliber physical specimen. And you picked a guy who's skinnier than me. You picked the kid from Zombieland? I'm not even going to say, and you picked Mark Zuckerberg. Like, forget that he's done a movie that was generally liked by everyone and considered, a big step for him. You picked him to play Lex Luthor?
But see, here's the thing. In my perfect mind, Lex has toned his body because he is trying to be Superman. He's trying to be the ideal. But even if they had gone with somebody that was like obese, like, okay, that's fine as long as he can play, calm. He can play centered. He can play a well-loved public figure who can have the crowd eating out of his hand. He's not showy like Tony Stark, but he's just suave and charismatic and completely in control of every situation. That is Lex Luthor. Regardless of what he looks like or anything, that is the key concept of Lex Luthor. Now, to me, even though they've never really done it much in the comics as much as I wish they would have, my idea of Lex is that he's always trying to be the ideal man, and here's Superman, who is the ideal man. And he didn't even have to try. Superman just is, and he was born that way. Lex has had to build himself up, and so that's why he hates Superman, because he's jealous of Superman. And he's the opposite of Superman while trying to be Superman. And so that, to me, that is what makes him interesting. I don't think Jesse Eisenberg, you can shave his head and whatever, and maybe he'd kind of look like Lex. I don't know. Put him in a nice, tailored suit. I don't know, but can he play what I just described?
I'll never say an actor can't play something a certain way, but there are physical limitations, in my opinion, that you just can't get past. And I'm not going to say he can't play Lex Luthor because he can't, gain the muscle or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. But, I'll go back to my first choice. My first choice would have been Mark Strong or a comparable unknown. You know, like just like with Batman. Like my ideal for Batman and Lex Luthor were both very similar. It was for both of them. Like I want a tall dude who's in shape, who has a deep voice. And him and Batman are pretty similar in the way that they project themselves socially, So you could have had a bunch of people interviewing for Lex and Batman and then sort of done, kind of like how Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston were both interviewed for they both auditioned for Thor, and they went for the opposite roles, I think.
But yeah, Kenneth Branagh did swap them. Yeah,
he swapped them, and I think that they could have done the same thing with Batman and with Lex Luthor. I just don't think... To me, it's like, all right, if you're gonna... What's been done with Lex Luthor before? Okay, they had Gene Hackman.
Yeah. And,
he was fine, but to me it was always like you have this fresh, new, crop of people to pick from to present, in my opinion, a not youthful, like... Jesse Eisenberg looks like a rich kid, kid whose daddy just handed him a company. He doesn't strike me as like as a ground up, built myself up, to an ideal kind of person. He's like a waifish, Mark Strong would have been my choice just because he projects confidence and he projects likability, but he can also play anger, and he's got an intimidating voice, an intimidating look, just his eyebrows, his whole face, just all that. Jesse Eisenberg could scowl, could do his best Hulk face, and I'm not scared of him.
No. Well, but imagine,
Jesse Eisenberg looks like he's going to shoot up a school. He doesn't look like Lex Luthor.
Right. To go back to your point about Bruce Wayne, that's one of the many things that I think is interesting about Lex Luthor, because Lex and Bruce are very similar, and they're both rich, and they both project the same thing to society. They both socialize similarly. They both devote themselves to something, but the difference, and honestly, they're both devoting themselves to making things better.
Yeah.
The problem is the lengths that Lex is willing to go to make things better.
Right.
And that is what makes... See, Superman's in the middle. And he's friends. Maybe his best friend in the world is Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. And his worst enemy is Luthor. And they're the same. There's just one little thing that's different about them.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is one of the many things that's interesting about Lex Luthor. And Luthor, to me, is up there with the Joker, tied for the best, most intriguing villain that has ever been written, at least in superhero lore, anyway. But so imagine the shot in your head of it's a profile of Henry Cavill, and he's staring Lex Luthor down, right? And imagine Jesse Eisenberg as Luthor. They're staring each other down. Does it look like either one? Like who's going to win that fight? That's the question. Like, for me, I like to have a Luthor who will look into Superman's eyes, and as the audience member, I'm saying either one of them could come out on top right now.
Like, at least Luthor, like, you'd know that, okay, yeah, if it came to just a fist fight, Superman would punch Luthor once in the head and his brain would explode. But, like, at least if Mark Strong, looking at Henry Cavill, you have him stare at Superman and say, I'm not scared of you. And you can have Jesse Eisenberg say the same thing. But with Jesse Eisenberg, it seems more like out of ignorance that he's not scared of him, and not out of like confidence. Like, no, you understand. I have the resources to stop you, and you have no idea what I'm capable of. Jesse Eisenberg looks like he's just going, "I hate you, Dad. I don't ever want to see you again." It's like I wouldn't even pick him to play Robin. Like, no, it's just That's a terrible choice if that's not a hoax. I would have rather had
reported all over the place.
I would have rather seen Jeremy Irons play. I would rather them switch it and have Jesse Eisenberg play Alfred, and Jeremy Irons play Luthor. Like, my God.
Yeah. All right. So here's the thing, though. Because Jesse Eisenberg has never done it before, doesn't mean he can't do it. It just means that I now have another reservation about this film.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, maybe this is a misstep. Maybe we and I've always said I trust Zack Snyder because I know he reads comics and I know he loves Superman and he genuinely loves this DC universe. And so if anybody's going to bring it to life, I'd rather it be him than Christopher Nolan, because Nolan has his prejudices, and he would never make a good Superman movie, much less Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Nolan can't do it, but I know that Zack Snyder loves it. So now I have to question Zack Snyder and say, do you really know who Luthor is? And the image that I have in my mind of who Luthor is, am I going to have to forget that in order to enjoy this film? Am I going to have to adopt a new Luthor?
And maybe that's part of adaptation, but it's like you're. I just don't see how you could have looked at a list of a bunch of people that, I mean, it sounds entitled, but like, how do you, a bunch of people I would have picked for the role versus who, he picked. Like, okay, he's a director, he knows the comics more than me, whatever. But like, it just seems like a bad choice. It seems like
man, I don't even know, because I really want this to work, and I really want it to be great, because I'm already having to let go of Spider-Man. I know I won't get a good Spider-Man movie for at least 10 years, and I know that, and I hate that, but it's probably the truth. And I don't want DC to go down that road where I have to let them go and say, I'm not going to get my version until after Justice League 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anyway. So there you go. There's the big movie news scoop for the day. And we're right on top of that, dude.
Well, you heard it here first on the HooperCast. God, that's... I would have rather them had a woman play Lex Luthor.
Well, I disagree.
Well, I don't know about that, yeah.
But I do think this.
Okay, compromise. I would rather have him shave Glenn Close's head and play Lex Luthor.
There you go. That's a true compromise then. Jodie Foster or something. So here's sort of the I don't want to say upside, because there's not. But here's the thing. Do you think that Lex Luthor, in the broadest sense, as a visionary, as a whatever, do you think he would be more like Mark Zuckerberg today? Do you think that's why they chose Eisenberg?
You mean because of like social media and stuff? And
do you think? Do you think Luthor would be a spoiled brat? Do you think Luthor would be? I'm wearing a hoodie and flip flops.
No, my short answer is no.
I don't either.
Because I understand, like, if their mentality is how the nerd is king these days, they shouldn't change the character towards the times. I mean, Luthor can be and is tech savvy without being a nerd. He wears an Armani suit. He's
because he's trying to be the ideal.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's why he wears the Armani suit, because he wants to be important. Yeah. He wants to be revered like Superman is.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I disapprove of that casting choice.
I do too. I really wish they would like be proactive and show us what he's going to look like in the movie. Go ahead and show us him bald and sell us over. Like, sell us on him as Luthor. Give him a monologue to put out on YouTube with him being like, I'm Luthor, and I am
show me his
running
audition
for president or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Show me what he did that impressed you so much.
Yeah.
Because I love Jesse Eisenberg, but not who I had in mind. I was really hoping the Joaquin Phoenix thing would play out.
Yeah, that would have been a good choice, at least.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
It would have been actually really scary. Like, that guy just...
Imagine, it's like Commodus, right? I mean...
Yeah, as unbalanced as that guy is, and would play it.
Yeah.
I feel like with Joaquin Phoenix, at some point, Luthor would just masturbate for no reason, though. It's, as does seem to be just Joaquin Phoenix's thing.
Yes.
Again, the master should have been called the masturbator, because...
And you haven't even seen Her yet.
Does he jerk off in Her?
Yeah.
Of course. Of course he does.
Well, I mean, he's dating a computer. I mean, what do you do? I'm pretty sure he only reads scripts that involve that. And he's like, no. It's in his contract.
We'd like you to play the Dalai Lama, Joaquin, only if I get to masturbate at least once. I don't see any masturbating in this script.
Yeah.
Where is it? Well, I don't think that's really going to be appropriate for this script. You've lost interest. Yeah. You're going to get to play the Dalai Lama. Tough.
I will. I can stay at home and do that.
I can stay at home and do a lot of things.
That's what he did in between when he took that break there.
That's what he would have done if he had gotten this role. You know?
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Just right there, like, oh, thank God. Oh. Well, that's all the time we've got for this installment of the HooperCast. I'm working on some best ofs since I don't have as much time to record nowadays. But if this little girl keeps me up at night, being stubborn and not eating, I have more time to cut them together. So I'll try and have those out interspersed with this episode and others.
Awesome.
But in the meantime, I'm just going to be watching a lot of HGTV with my wife. So
sounds good.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing television. Yeah. Anyway, and actually, I think I'm going to be moving this desk into the baby's room since we moved the crib into our room. Mm-hmm. So we might get better sound just in a more enclosed space. I don't know.
Sure.
So
that'd be cool.
Yeah. We've seen a lot more purple.
Right.
So
sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Dustin, I'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Woo!